The tow truck's engine roared like a thunderstorm breaking the dawn, rattling every window in Maple Ridge Estates. Metal chains snapped, and just like that, Lillian Allen's spotless white SUV started. Lifting into the air, tires dangling like a kid's legs off a swing. She screamed so loud, you'd swear it was a fire alarm. Neighbors came pouring out, slippers flapping, bathrobes fluttering, clutching coffee mugs like shields against the madness. Meanwhile, there I stood on my porch, arms crossed, coffee steaming, watching Karma finally clock in for her morning shift. Because let's be real, this wasn't just a petty parking spat. This was months of Lillian blocking my driveway, waving from her throne like she owned the block. But today, I was done playing nice. I'd built a perfectly legal trap, and she'd walked into it, heels first, with a clipboard glued to her hand. Now, before we get to the best part, go ahead, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you're into HOA drama or love a revenge story with a good cup of justice, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how this all shakes out. Back to the beginning. The day this all started, the sun was shining, sprinklers were hissing, and Maple Ridge looked like one of those fancy brochures. Every lawn green as a golf course, every mailbox gleaming, every neighbor waving just long enough to pretend they weren't watching. And right in the middle of all that, there was Lillian Allen. If an HOA could have a dictator, she'd have been president for life. Blonde bob, pearl earrings, clipboard surgically attached. She didn't walk, she marched. 5 years I'd lived here, paid my dues, trimmed my hedges, memorized every single one of the 32-page HOA rules. I wasn't looking for a fight, but apparently, trouble had GPS, and my driveway was saved as favorite location. It started small. One random morning, I opened my garage, ready for work, and found her white SUV parked dead center. Brand new, sparkling, looked like the kind of car you buy just so people know you bought it. At first, I thought it was a delivery gone wild. Knocked on the tinted window, waited. It slid down a crack, giant sunglasses, fire engine red lipstick. "Oh, good morning," she chirped, like we'd been friends for years. Hi, this is my driveway," I said, holding my coffee steady. She blinked, acting confused, and said, "Oh, don't worry, dear. I'm just checking in on some HOA matters." 5 minutes. 5 minutes turned into an hour. And that was just the beginning. Second time, she was inspecting sprinkler uniformity, whatever that means. Third time, she just left it there while she went jogging. Every time I confronted her, she'd give me the same condescending smile. "Relax, Ethan, it's just a driveway. You can still get out, can't you?" Except I couldn't. Her suburban tank blocked everything. Thing about people like Lillian, every rule is for everyone else. And as HOA president, she wore that power like a crown. I tried being civil, emailed, called, even sat through a board meeting while she smiled and said, "We'll address that soon, Mr. Parker." Weeks turned to months, my patience turned to caffeine, and every morning, that SUV was parked out there like a monument to arrogance. Then came the Saturday. That broke me. My brother was flying in, we had plans, the lake was calling. I woke up early, coffee in hand, and opened my garage too. Yep, Lillian's SUV, parked dead center, nose pointed right at me. Like a dare. She strolled up in pink workout gear, sipping a latte, earbuds in. "Morning," she sang, like she wasn't hijacking my property again. "Lillian," I said, jaw clenched, "you're parked in my driveway." Again. She just smiled. "Oh, don't make such a fuss. I'll move it later. It's just for a while." Something snapped. "Lillian, this is private property." She shrugged. "Technically, it's within HOA territory, which means I have certain privileges." That was it. I realized she wasn't going to stop, unless someone stopped her. So I sat down that afternoon and read every line of those HOA bylaws, every dry, legal phrase. And there it was. Any vehicle parked on private property without homeowner consent can be towed at the homeowner's discretion. State law. Bingo. Next day, I called Silvaline Towing. Joe, the dispatcher, laughed. "Ah, the old HOA special. Got proof." I sent him everything. Photos, emails, timestamps. "That's plenty," he said. "Next time, just call." But I knew Lillian. She'd talk her way out if she could. So I installed a ring cam, printed the HOA clause, taped it to my garage, and even called the county PD to double-check. Officer said, "You own it. She parks, you tow. Just keep your documentation." You better believe I did. Days passed. Lillian must have been busy harassing someone else. Then, Friday, I hit the garage opener. Sunshine. Two guys in blue jumpsuits got right to work. Chains, hooks, hydraulics. That SUV was in the air before I could finish my coffee. And then, right on cue, here came Lillian, screeching down the sidewalk. "What do you think you're doing?" she shrieked. I sipped my coffee, cool as a cucumber. "Morning, Lillian. Just resolving a little trespass." Neighbors peered from windows, phones out. "You can't tow my car. I'm the HOA president." The driver just shrugged. "Ma'am, it's his driveway." For the first time, she was speechless, just for a second. Then she exploded. "You'll regret this. I'll have you fined." I held up my phone. "Say hi to the compliance board, Lillian." The tow truck roared off, her voice trailing behind like a bad sitcom laugh track. For the first time in months, my driveway was gloriously empty. I looked at my coffee, still warm, and thought, maybe now she'll actually read those bylaws. But deep down, I knew this was just round one. By Monday, the whole neighborhood knew. Some said. Finally, someone stood up to her. Others whispered, "Ethan's in for it now." I enjoyed a few days of peace. But sure enough, the HOA office, really just Lillian with a landline, called. "Mr. Parker, we need to discuss an incident regarding your conduct." I almost laughed. "My conduct?" "Yes, we've received complaints." I interrupted. "From who?" "You and your SUV." Silence. "Please come to the clubhouse immediately." Walking in, it felt like a bad episode of Judge Judy. Lillian at the head of the table, Martha, the nervous treasurer, Gary, the guy who once fined a neighbor for wind chimes. "We've reviewed several reports claiming you engaged in hostile and retaliatory behavior." I slid my own folder across the table. "Bylaws say any homeowner may remove unauthorized vehicles parked on private property. No HOA approval required." Lillian's smile flickered. Still, it was unnecessary escalation. I grinned. "I came to you 14 times. I have the emails. And I even gave you a 10-minute warning before towing." Ignored it. The room went quiet. Finally, Gary whispered, "He's technically right, Lillian." That word, technically, was music. Of course, Lillian wasn't done. The next day, a bright orange HOA notice appeared on my door. Unsightly surveillance device. She was trying to find me for my $99. Ring camera. I snapped a photo, emailed the board, and every neighbor. "Just want to confirm my security camera violates policy, considering Section 4.7 encourages reasonable security." The replies rolled in. GIFs, memes, photos of dozens of other cameras. By sundown, the orange notice was gone. But now she was simmering. The silence across the street was thick as molasses. A few days later, a letter showed up. No return address, just her dramatic handwriting. "Mr. Parker, your behavior continues to disrupt the harmony of Maple Ridge Estates. I always find a way to restore order." I almost framed it. But instead, I filed a formal complaint with the Compliance Committee. Attached every bit of evidence, photos, emails, towing report. A week later, the verdict. President Allen violated private property rules. The board would vote on disciplinary measures. The next HOA meeting was packed. Usually, only the diehards showed up, but tonight, everyone came. Lillian, in her full-power suit, tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. I stood up, calm and smiling. Played the ring cam footage of her SUV being towed while she screamed, "You can't tow the HOA." "President." The room exploded. Laughter, applause, popcorn. The board voted to suspend her privileges for 60 days. For the first time in years, Maple Ridge had no self-proclaimed queen. I sat on my porch that night, the same spot where it started. A few neighbors walked by, thumbs up. "You're a hero, Ethan." I didn't feel like a hero, just a guy who finally fought back, with patience, proof, and a sense of humor. But, of course, peace in Maple Ridge is never permanent. Lillian started slipping anonymous complaints under doors, garbage bins, fence paint, unauthorized hydrangeas. Each concerned resident note was written in her unmistakable scrawl. I pinned every notice to my lawn with a sign. "Complaints of our HOA's retired dictator. Collect them all." Someone posted a photo to Facebook. The comments exploded. Half the town was laughing. Even online, Lillian tried to defend herself, but the more she typed, the more obvious it was that she was the concerned resident. Late one night, she showed up, fists full of my complaint signs, shouting, "You're making a mockery of this community." I sipped my coffee. "You defamed yourself." "I'm just curating your greatest hits." Her jaw worked like she was chewing glass. "Fine. Let's see how you handle the insurance committee." 3 days later, I got a letter from a law firm. Defamation, damaging to community reputation. I almost spit out my coffee. Called my lawyer buddy Sam, who lives down the block. He took one look. She's bluffing. But if she used HOA funds, that's a gold mine. Sure enough, a little digging found she'd been using HOA cash for lawyers, PR, community events that were just board lunches. The next HOA meeting, I brought it all, documents, receipts. "Care to explain these expenditures, Lillian?" She stammered, but the crowd was having none of it. The board launched an audit, and for the first time, Martha stood up to her. "You don't have authority anymore, Lillian. Sit down." The cheers were real. But that night, as I stood by my driveway, I noticed fresh tire marks. Someone had pulled up, then sped off. A chill ran down my spine. Lillian wasn't done. And when people like her have nothing left to lose, that's when things get wild. If you've ever wondered where the line is between justice and pettiness, between standing up for yourself and starting a suburban Cold War, well, Maple Ridge found it. And all it took was one HOA president, a stubborn homeowner, and a well-placed camera. So, what would you have done? Have you ever faced off with a neighborhood tyrant? Or maybe you are the HOA enforcer in your community. Tell me below, who was right, who crossed the line, and where does real justice live in the cul-de-sac? Drop your story or your verdict, and if you enjoyed this wild ride, don't forget to subscribe for more true tales of suburban survival. Because in Maple Ridge, the only thing more powerful than the rules is knowing how to use them.